Hello again, Mavic traders, and welcome out to your daily currency recap. This is Sankit here, and I'll be breaking down today's market price action. It's a Tuesday, July the 30th, and we'll talk about this upcoming 24 hours here. As always, we'll be going through and taking a look at broader markets, take a look at where the sentiment is, take a look at our currency baskets, and most important major news reports in the next 24 hours, and then we'll take a look at some possible setups ahead. Let's get into it.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
So as we jump into the market analysis, as you can see there, let's just jump right into the news of the day. Well, the tech stocks continue to sell off. So we talked about this rotation that really started to happen a couple of weeks ago. So that's continuing, where underneath the market, things looks fine, but then the broader markets are down because these big tech stocks that were really pushing the market higher are now underperforming. So that's really what's happening in the global market, in the US markets, and that's affecting everything else. But if you take a look at in the currency market, well, Japanese yen continue to strengthen. And we have the Bank of Japan rate statement tonight. So we'll be talking a lot more about it because they're expecting, or the expectation right now is leaning towards that they'll be making a rate hike. So I'm no surprise that the markets are running ahead of it. Usually we see that buy the rumor, sell the news kind of a thing. We are seeing this market getting ahead of it. We'll find out tonight. And that will be probably a good sort of a movement that will get right off of it, but then also in the coming weeks ahead, because that will be a big policy shift as well. Now, if we just take a look at the numbers, you can see that the numbers, we are seeing some things turning around, like the Aussie and Kiwi. Remember, Aussie Kiwi has been the most, going one way. Aussie's been more stronger, and the Kiwi's been more weak, and we're seeing that turn around. So something to keep a close eye on. If you see things in the middle, well, all euro, pound, CAD, dollar, they're all kind of underperforming. So the only thing that really looks good over here is the yen that we will need to compare to euro, pound, dollar, CAD, and Aussie. And we also have Swiss franc doing a little bit better. And then here we are Kiwi out of all that bunch. Remember, Kiwi has been the weakest currency. So this is where it's showing this relative strength that we will need to continue looking for. So I think maybe at this point, Aussie short looks a lot more attractive than the Kiwi short. And the dollar, we have the FOMC tomorrow, we'll find out. But because the carry trade that we get between the dollar and yen, it'll be interesting what happened to the dollar if the yen really takes off tonight. Outside of that, if you take a look at the global markets and take a look at the US markets, S&P, down 1%, crypto is down, gold is up, but then oil is down. So you can see things are all over the place, but definitely relative weakness we are seeing in the indices here, the S&P and the NASDAQ, they're actually underperforming. Now, if you take a look at the crypto world, they were all kind of weak. Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. So they're nothing really new to report there. I'm not really a big fan of the crypto right now. I think there's definitely a lot more opportunities outside of it. Now, let's just take a look at our market outlook. Where are we at? Nothing really has changed. We are right at this 20 moving average, or even closing below the 20 moving average. Below the 20, and now we are right at the 50th moving. So nothing really has changed. So if you just take a look at the chart here, here we are. We are wedged in between the 20-day moving average and a 50-day moving average. And it's really fun keeping a good support over here. As it breaks below that, I think that's where we'll see a lot more weakness. But right now, we're just still hanging off the thread here. You can see today earlier was a bearish day, and then really it rallied or recovered some of the losses there. So FOMC again is due tomorrow. So that probably will have a bigger impact on how the market behaves. But let's just talk about the schedule here. And the schedule is that we have a whole lot. This is a very busy week. So we got to take a day by day and, look for next 24 hours than like looking for a whole week. There's a whole lot to go through. But then if you take a look at what's happening, tonight we have the Aussie CPI. So I'll be paying close attention to it, especially if you're trading the Aussie currency pairs. Most important one is this Bank of Japan rate statement. You can see the expectation is showing that there's no change. But the way the Japanese yen is performing, it almost looks like they're expecting for some surprise there. So this will be, again, an important one to watch. We'll be taking a look at all the yen crosses, looking at both the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. But I think there'll be a good trade to be had over there. So if you're not trading the Aussie, I think it's best to kind of wait till the Bank of Japan tonight. And again, if you're trading any yen crosses are already in it, just realize there's a risk for big movements one way or the other. As we go into tomorrow, we have a whole lot as well. Got the Euro CPI here. We got the FOMC here. The FOMC is another big one tomorrow. Remember, it's all about the statement, what they say. And we are going into the expectation right now is for a rate cut going into the following month. So we'll have to kind of see what the tone is, and that confirms it. So we are already seeing the bond yields underperforming. They're pulling back ahead of it. So a lot of times, you start to see these movements are taking place ahead of it. So I think both the way US yields are performing, they're kind of indicating towards it. And then same way how the Japanese yen is performing is kind of indicating something might probably be happening with this Bank of Japan meeting tonight. So that's what we have in the next 24 hours. Let's just jump into our currency analysis and take a look at where the velocity scores is so we know where to look.
Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader?
Now, this is what the velocity score is. Well, I can't remember the last time where I had everything is sort of lumped together in a -2. So this is where the velocity is. Majority of currencies are kind of underperforming here. So the only thing that really stands out, yen. We had the Kiwi that really, start to outperform overnight. And we had the Swiss franc, which also been performing well as well. So what do we need to look for? Well, the bigger one is the Japanese yen. So I think that's what I will be focusing on, and then I'll be taking a look at dollar crosses. And what we need to do is compare best case scenario, worst case scenario, and it looks pretty clear. If you want to buy the yen, what do you want to pair with? And if you want to sell the yen, what do you want to pair with? The board looks pretty clear here, because if things are more in the zero, then that's when you know that there's not a whole strong price action. But this looks pretty clear where the price action is. So let's just jump into the possible trades ahead, and let's take a look at the setups. So looking at the possible trades ahead, let's take a look at the Japanese yen. Let's study what's happening in the currency basket. So you can see that we got a big change right over here. This was a big trend reversing candle. And since then, we pretty much went up and made a little base here. Now we went up in the last 4 or 5 days. You can see that this thing is strengthening. And take a look at today's candle. Now, this price action is a lot different. If you go back in time, this price action is a lot different. We've seen rallies, but then rallies really turn around pretty quick. So take a look at what else is happening here. We are seeing this convergence here where the 20-day moving average is crossing over the 50-day moving average. So I think this is where you got to be very careful with the Japanese yen, because everything is pointing out to the upside. So you don't want to stand in front of a moving train. Of course, if something changes with the Bank of Japan tonight, we can jump back into it. But right now, it only looks bullish to me here. Outside of that, if you go in the US dollar, well, guess what's happening in the dollar? It's the upper and the lower end of the range. And guess where we've stalled again? It's the upper end of the range. So this is, again, a sideways price action. I think FOMC tomorrow will likely move the currency and the bond yield. So we'll leave it till that. Again, that will be, again, for the news event. But I think the focus really here is the Japanese yen. Outside of that, you can see the Swiss franc pattern still looks pretty good. So we can take a look at any Swiss franc currency pairs. But outside of that, everything kind of looks weak to me here. Here's the euro, here's the pound, here's the CAD, here's the Aussie. I mean, take a look at the Aussie weakness here, and here's the Kiwi. So let me just take a look at one interesting setup here, just based on relative strength of weakness, is Aussie Kiwi. So you can see that this thing has been staying pretty strong. 114.40 has been a good level of resistance. So you can see that this thing is just falling right back here. 110.40 is the big level of resistance that it really broke out, which is now the support. So we are sitting at about 110.76. If it breaks below that 110.50, I think this will again fall back in the range. Let's go on the daily chart and you see what I'm talking about. This is the big level of resistance that we broke out. And at this point, if it falls right back below that level, I think we are likely to see a reversal of that pattern. And that's where I'd rather be short the Aussie and be long the Kiwi. So that pairing looks a little bit better in that regard. Now, let's just take a look at yen crosses. Best case scenario, worst case scenario. Now, you can see that everything kind of looks weak here. Let's just start with the dollar yen. You know, you can see the reversals are taking place. Now, dollar yen, the big level of support is at about 152. If it breaks that 152, I think this is where it can start to come down much faster. But that's a very important level of resistance, which is now prior resistance, which is now support. So if you're looking for anything, again, you got to look for this 152 area to 151. I mean, this is big. That's a little range that you're looking at, 152 to 151. Anything below that is really a trend-changing move, and you can see that the 20 is falling below the 50 here. So the bearish pattern is emerging. We can also take a look at other ones as well, like the Aussie yen. Again, we just looked at how Aussie's weaker one, so Aussie yen probably be a good candidate here. So the question really comes is that, okay, what time should I be trading on? And I think this is where if you have a volatility, I mean, we can use the shorter term time frames around that and see, okay, which is the key level that we wanted to break and sort of hunting around it. So, you know, here we are on a 4-hour chart. You can see that it's a wide range sitting at about 99.86 all the way top to 101.50. So this is going to require a much wider stop, as you can see. So what I'll be looking for, again, I'm not chasing anything here. I'll be looking for the initial price action and then going with it, because right now everything is pointing out to be to the downside. But with this Bank of Japan, a lot of times, you know, you can get this buy the rumor, sell the news, where, you know, the price is already priced in and then it just moves the other way. So that's always that phenomenon you have to really watch out for. But if you take a look at any yen crosses, Aussie yen we just looked at, here we are with the CAD yen, looks pretty similar. Here we are with the euro yen, pound yen. They all look very similar. Even remember, Kiwi was stronger. Now look at that one. Kiwi looks pretty weak. Swiss franc. We looked at Swiss franc, how strong it was. And guess what? It looks pretty weak. So again, this is the level we are at, where it's not about pairing yen against some of the weakest one. I mean, right now they all kind of look the same. So I think there'll be a big move regardless. Either it's going to be the best case scenario or the worst case scenario. So just to wrap it up, a focus again will be on the BOJ and the FOMC. Focus on that relative strength weakness. As I showed it to you, tonight is all about the Bank of Japan and the Japanese yen. So, you know, there's going to be big moves. Your job is to catch that move. And again, if you miss the move, that's fine as well, because right now where, you know, there's a possible volatility ahead. So you got to widen your stop. You got to maybe use a different strategy as a confirmation or a continuation. So we'll find out what happens tonight and we'll go from there. And then again, FOMC tomorrow. So there's a lot on the horizon that we've got to continue watching. Thanks for joining here. Happy trading, and we'll see you the next one. Cheers.